I learned the truth about my son on a Wednesday morning at 6:47 a.m., standing at my kitchen counter with a cup of tea cooling between my hands. My phone sat face up beside the sugar bowl, and when it buzzed with an incoming voice note to our family group chat, I assumed it was David sending his usual good morning message. He'd been doing that since he and Amanda moved in 3 months ago. These little check-ins that felt, at first, like thoughtfulness. I tapped the play button. Amanda's voice filled my quiet kitchen, bright and animated in that way she had when talking to her sister. I swear to God, Jess, I'm losing my mind in this house. The woman hovers over everything. Yesterday, she actually rearranged the dishes I'd put in the dishwasher. Can you believe that? I loaded them perfectly fine, and she comes behind me like I'm incompetent. A pause, then a laugh that sounded sharp. David keeps saying, just be patient. Mom's adjusting. But honestly, I'm counting down the days. Once we get the house in our name, we can finally do what we want with it. New kitchen, open concept, the works. David's too soft to push her toward assisted living, but I'm working on it. Another year, tops, and we'll have this place to ourselves. The voice note ended. For a long moment, I stood there, the steam from my tea rising between us, between me and the phone, between the mother I thought I'd been and the obstacle I apparently was. The morning light came through the window above the sink, catching on the copper kettle Robert and I had bought in Vermont 30 years ago. I'd made tea in this kitchen every morning since 1989. I'd raised David in this house. I'd buried Robert from this house. And now, apparently, I was in the way. I replayed the voice note, listened to Amanda's words again, her casual cruelty, her calculation, counted down the days, working on it. Once we get the house in our name, I checked the group chat members. Me, David, Amanda. She'd meant to send it privately to her sister. A simple mistake, the kind anyone could make when juggling multiple conversations. The kind of mistake that reveals what people say when they think you're not listening. I set the phone down, picked up my tea. It had gone lukewarm, the way things do when you're not paying attention. The house was quiet. David and Amanda were still asleep upstairs, in the guest room that had become their room when David called 3 months ago with news that their apartment lease was ending. And wouldn't it be nice, Mom, if we stayed with you for a bit, just until we found the right place? And besides, you shouldn't be alone in that big house. I'd said yes, because he was my son. Because after Robert died 2 years ago, the house did feel larger, emptier, full of rooms that no longer needed filling. Because David was all I had left of the family Robert and I had built. I'd said yes, because I wanted to believe that my son wanted to take care of me. I carried my tea to the living room, to the armchair positioned by the window where I could see the garden Robert had planted. The hostas were coming up, their leaves still tight and green. Robert had put them in the summer before he died, spending hours on his knees in the dirt, working with a patience I'd always envied. They'll spread, he'd told me, brushing soil from his hands. In a few years, they'll fill this whole bed. You won't have to do much. Just let them grow. He'd been thinking ahead, even then, planning for a future where I'd be here, and he wouldn't. I thought about the voice note, about Amanda's laugh, casual and certain, about the phrase that kept catching in my mind. Once we get the house in our name, as if it were inevitable, as if I were already gone, or near enough, that my absence was simply a matter of scheduling. I thought about Robert, and what he would say if he were here. Robert, who'd worked 32 years at the manufacturing plant to pay off this house, who'd built the deck himself, board by board, because we couldn't afford to hire someone, who'd painted every room, refinished the hardwood floors, replaced the roof, fixed the foundation crack, done everything needed to make this house solid and lasting. Not for himself, really, for us, for me. What would Robert say about our son scheming to take it? But I knew what Robert would say. He'd say the same thing he always said when faced with something difficult. We'll think it through in the morning, General. Sleep on it. Things look different in daylight. Robert believed in measured responses. He believed in giving people the benefit of the doubt. He believed that love, real love, weathered everything if you were patient enough. I wondered if Robert had ever imagined we'd need to weather this. The clock on the mantel ticked forward. 6:53. In about an hour, David and Amanda would wake up. They'd come downstairs, and Amanda would smile at me with that wide, bright smile she always wore. And she'd ask if I'd slept well, and David would kiss my cheek and pour himself coffee, and we'd all pretend we were a family, living together in easy harmony. The way we'd been pretending for 3 months. I picked up my phone, looked at the voice note again, considered deleting it, pretending I'd never heard, going on as we had been. It would be easier, less confrontational, more like the woman I'd tried to be my whole life, the woman who smoothed over conflict and kept peace and didn't make waves. But something in me, something that had been hardening since Robert died, something I'd kept pushing down, refused. I saved the voice note, not to our family chat, but to my own files, where I kept things that mattered. Then I deleted it from the group chat. If Amanda noticed it was gone, she'd assume she'd imagined sending it, or that she'd sent it to the right person after all. She wouldn't know I had evidence. She wouldn't know I knew. That felt important. Knowing something she didn't know I knew gave me time to think. Time to decide what kind of woman I wanted to be in the face of this. I thought about the last 2 years, the ones after Robert died, how I'd moved through them in a fog of grief, doing what needed doing, keeping the house, tending the garden, going to book club, volunteering at the library, all the small acts that constituted a life. How when David called and said he wanted to move in, I'd felt something like relief. I wouldn't be alone. I'd have family nearby. I'd have purpose again, taking care of my son the way I'd always taken care of him. But in 3 months, I'd started to feel smaller. Amanda had a way of taking over spaces. She'd rearranged the living room, said the couch looked better against the other wall. She'd bought new towels for the bathroom, said mine were worn out. She'd thrown away my dish soap and replaced it with her preferred brand, said it was better for the environment. Small things, each one defensible, each one pushing me a little further to the margins of my own house. And David let her. David, who'd always been easygoing, who'd always deferred to whoever had the strongest opinion, went along with whatever Amanda wanted. When I'd mentioned, gently, that I preferred my couch where it was, David had said, "Come on, Mom, does it really matter? Amanda's just trying to help freshen things up. Freshen things up." As if I'd let the house go stale. As if I were an old thing that needed replacing. I stood up, walked to the kitchen, put my teacup in the sink, turned on the faucet, watched the water run clear and cold. Through the window, I could see Mrs. Chen next door pulling weeds from her flower bed. She was 74. Lived alone since her husband died 5 years ago. She seemed happy, busy, free. I turned off the water, made a decision. I would not confront them yet. I would not play the voice note and demand explanations and force a scene that would end with David choosing Amanda, because I knew my son well enough to know which way that choice would go. I would not give them the satisfaction of calling me paranoid or oversensitive or unable to take a joke. Instead, I would watch. I would pay attention. I would see what else there was to see, and then I would decide what came next. The house creaked above me. Footsteps. David was awake. I dried my hands, smoothed my shirt, put on the face I'd been wearing for 3 months, the one that said everything was fine. We were all family here, all getting along. By the time David came downstairs, I had breakfast started. Eggs and toast, the way he liked them. He kissed my cheek, poured coffee, asked about my plans for the day. I told him about the library volunteer shift, about the book club meeting tomorrow, about needing to plant the impatiens before the weather turned too hot. Normal things, easy things, things that made me sound like exactly what Amanda thought I was. An old woman, filling her days with small tasks, waiting for time to pass. Amanda came down 20 minutes later, already dressed, her hair perfect. She smiled at me, Good morning, Genevieve. You're up early. I like the quiet, I said. Want some eggs? Just coffee, thanks. I'm meeting Sarah for yoga. She took her mug and leaned against the counter, scrolling through her phone. I watched her. This woman my son had married, this woman who was planning to displace me from my own home. She was 29, young enough to be impatient, old enough to know better. Have fun, I said. She left 15 minutes later. David followed shortly after, heading to his office job, the one he did remotely from my dining room table, spreading his papers and laptop across the space where Robert and I used to eat dinner together. I'd given up trying to set the table for meals. Amanda preferred eating on the couch anyway, watching television. When they were both gone, I went upstairs. I'd told myself I wouldn't snoop, that I'd wait, watch, see what happened naturally. But the voice note had opened something in me, some need to know the full truth. I stood outside their room for a moment, hand on the doorknob, weighing whether this made me the kind of person I wanted to be. Then I opened the door. Their room was messy in the way young people's rooms are, clothes on the chair, shoes scattered, the bed unmade. I didn't touch anything, just looked, took in the details. Amanda's laptop sat on the desk, closed. Her planner lay open, filled with neat handwriting. I stepped closer. Read the entries. Yoga dates, lunch plans. A note on Friday. Call Realtor Re. Market value. My house. She was checking the market value of my house. I photographed the page with my phone, stepped back, looked around more carefully. On Amanda's nightstand, tucked under a novel, I found a folder. Inside, printouts. Zillow estimates for my address. Comparables in the neighborhood. A contact card for a real estate agent named Patricia Vance with a note in Amanda's handwriting. Specializes in estate sales and senior transitions. Estate sales. As if I'd already died. Senior transitions. As if I were already incapable. I photographed everything, put it all back exactly as I'd found it, left the room, closed the door, went back downstairs and sat in Robert's chair. The recliner he'd loved, the one that still smelled faintly of his aftershave if I pressed my face into the cushion. What would you do? I asked the empty room, asked Robert, who wasn't there to answer. But I knew what he'd do. Robert would gather facts, Robert would make a plan, Robert would protect what was his, what was ours, what was supposed to be mine. So that's what I did. I spent the next week watching, listening, paying attention to details I'd been too trusting to notice before. I heard Amanda on the phone with her sister, complaining about living in a museum and having to tiptoe around her feelings. I saw David looking at apartments online, but only expensive ones, the ones they couldn't afford without selling my house first. I found in the recycling bin a brochure for Meadowbrook Senior Living, circled apartments with the note, "Show Mom these." Emphasize community and activities. They were building a case, a narrative where moving me to assisted living was for my own good, where I'd be happier somewhere else, somewhere with people my own age, somewhere that freed them to live their lives in my house. The evidence mounted. I documented all of it. Photographs, voice recordings when they thought I couldn't hear, copies of their searches on the shared computer. I built my own case, though I didn't know yet what I'd do with it. Then, on a Tuesday night, exactly 1 week after the voice note, everything crystallized. I was in my bedroom, reading, when I heard them arguing. Their voices carried through the old heating vents, the ones Robert had always meant to insulate better but never got around to. Amanda's voice, sharp with frustration. "We've been here 3 months, David. 3 months of living like we're teenagers in her house. When are you going to talk to her?" "I am talking to her." David's voice, defensive. "I'm working up to it." "Working up to what?" "She's not going to voluntarily move to assisted living. You're going to have to push. Tell her you're worried about her safety. Tell her the stairs are dangerous. Tell her she's forgetting things." "She's not forgetting things." "Then make her think she is. Move her keys. Forget to give her messages. She's 67, David. It's believable." A pause. Long enough that I wondered if David would object, would defend me, would say no. Then, I'll try. I closed my book, laid it on my nightstand, turned off the light, lay in the dark, in the bed I'd shared with Robert for 36 years, and felt something settle in my chest. Not anger, exactly. Not hurt, though that was there too. Something colder, something clear. My son was willing to gaslight me to get my house. That was the truth I'd been avoiding. That was the reality I'd been too afraid to face. In the morning, I called Patricia Vance, the realtor whose card I'd found, asked her, hypothetically, what my house was worth. She gave me a number that made me understand, viscerally, what Amanda and David were scheming toward. Then I called my lawyer, Martin Stevens, who'd handled Robert's will and knew our family, made an appointment for Thursday. On Thursday, I sat in Martin's office and laid out everything. The voice note, the photographs, the overheard conversations. Martin listened, his expression growing graver with each detail. "Genevieve," he said finally, "you know what this means?" "I know what it looks like," I said. "I need to know what I can do." He explained my options. The house was mine, solely in my name since Robert's death. I had every right to ask them to leave. If they refused, I could legally evict them. It might take 30 days, might require paperwork, but the law was clear. It was my house. "But," Martin added, "once you do this, it's hard to undo. David is your son. Amanda is his wife. This will likely end your relationship with them, maybe permanently." "I know," I said. "Are you sure?" I thought about Robert, about the hostas spreading in the garden, about the 32 years he'd worked to pay off this house, about the future he'd wanted for me, one where I was safe and comfortable and free. "I'm sure," I said. Martin drew up the papers. A formal notice to vacate, 30 days. I took them home, put them in my desk drawer, waited for the right moment. It came on Saturday. David and Amanda were in the living room, looking at paint samples. "I'm thinking a light gray for in here," Amanda said. "Really modernize the space. Maybe take down that wallpaper in the dining room. It's so dated." The wallpaper Robert and I had hung together in 1991. The one with the tiny blue flowers. The one we'd chosen because it reminded us of the field where Robert had proposed. "That sounds nice," David said. I walked into the room, held the envelope in my hand. "Actually," I said, "that won't be necessary." They looked up. Amanda smiled. "Genevieve, hi. We're just planning some updates. What do you think of gray?" I handed David the envelope. "I think you should read this." He opened it. His face went white. "Mom, what is this?" "It's a notice to vacate. You have 30 days to find somewhere else to live." Silence, the kind that feels like a held breath. Then Amanda, "You can't be serious." "I am." "Why?" David stood up, the paper shaking in his hand. "Why would you do this?" I pulled out my phone, played the voice note. Amanda's voice filled the room. "Once we get the house in our name, we can finally do what we want with it. David's too soft to push her toward assisted living, but I'm working on it." Amanda's face went red, then white. "You weren't supposed to hear that." "Clearly, Mom." David's voice cracked. "This is a misunderstanding. Amanda didn't mean it that way." "What way did she mean it then?" I looked at my son, this man I'd raised, this person I thought I knew. "Tell me how I should interpret my daughter-in-law planning to manipulate me into assisted living so you can take my house. It was just talk. We weren't actually going to. You were moving my keys. Amanda suggested you make me think I was forgetting things. Was that just talk too?" David stared at me. Couldn't answer. Amanda tried. "Genevieve, you have to understand. We didn't want to hurt you. We genuinely thought you'd be happier somewhere with more support. This house is a lot for one person. The maintenance, the stairs, all of it. We were trying to help. Help yourselves," I said. "To my house, to my equity, to the life Robert and I built." "Mom, please." David reached for my hand. I stepped back. "Don't do this. We're family. Family doesn't scheme to displace each other. Family doesn't count down the days until someone dies. Family doesn't gaslight their mother to steal her home. We weren't stealing. What would you call it? No answer. I picked up the envelope. 30 days. I've been more than generous. Martin tells me I could do this in less. But I'm giving you time to find somewhere else. Use it. I turned to leave. David's voice stopped me. If we go, you'll be alone. You'll be alone in this house with no one to help you. Is that what you want? I turned back, looked at my son, saw him clearly, maybe for the first time since he was a child. I'd rather be alone than used, I said. Your father taught me that. He taught me that dignity matters more than company. I wish he'd taught you the same thing. Then I went to my room, closed the door, sat on my bed and let myself feel everything I'd been holding back for a week, for 3 months, for 2 years since Robert died. I cried for the son I thought I had, for the family I thought we'd been, for the trust that had broken and wouldn't mend, but I didn't regret it. The next 30 days were tense. David and Amanda barely spoke to me. They ate in their room. They came and went without acknowledgement. They packed in angry silence, slamming drawers and muttering just loud enough for me to hear about how I was making a mistake, how I'd regret this, how family didn't treat family this way. On day 29, Amanda tried once more, came into the kitchen where I was making tea, stood across from me, her face arranged in what she probably thought was sincerity. Genevieve, I'm sorry. I'm truly sorry for what I said. I was frustrated, and I said things I didn't mean. Please, give us another chance. Let us stay. No, I said. Don't you care about your son? I love my son, I said. That's why I'm doing this, because love without respect is just enabling. And you two don't respect me. You see me as an obstacle, an inconvenience, someone to manage until you can move me aside. That's not true. It is true. You said it yourself. I have it recorded. And more than that, Amanda, I know it's true because of how you've treated me since you moved in. Every small change you made without asking, every dismissal of my preferences, every time you made me feel small in my own home, that's not help. That's not care. That's you taking over, piece by piece, until there's no room left for me. She didn't argue. Couldn't. On day 30, they left. Loaded their car with boxes and bags. David hugged me at the door, brief and stiff. I hope you're happy, Mom, he said. I hope this is what you really wanted. It's not about wanting, I said. It's about needing. I need to live with dignity. I need to be respected in my own home. I need to matter. He didn't respond. Just got in the car. Amanda didn't say goodbye at all. I watched them drive away. Then I closed the door, locked it, stood in my quiet house, my empty house, the house Robert and I had built together, and I breathed. For the first time in 3 months, I could breathe without measuring my words, without watching my space, without wondering when the next small piece of me would be chipped away. I moved the couch back where I wanted it, threw away Amanda's dish soap and bought my preferred brand, took down the new towels and put mine back in the bathroom, worn but familiar and mine. I planted the impatiens, finished my book, went to book club, and told my friends, carefully, that David and Amanda had moved out. They didn't ask why. They knew better. But Mrs. Chen brought over soup, and Patricia from book club invited me to join her walking group, and slowly, in small ways, I rebuilt. A month later, David called, brief, stilted. Just checking in, Mom, making sure you're okay. I'm fine, I said. How are you? We found an apartment. It's small, but it's ours. That's good. A pause. Mom, do you think we could talk? Really talk? Not yet, I said. Maybe someday, but not yet. He accepted that. We ended the call. I don't know if David and I will repair this. I don't know if he'll ever understand why I had to choose myself, why I couldn't keep sacrificing my dignity for the illusion of family unity. Maybe he will, eventually. Maybe he won't. But I know this. I did the right thing. Robert would be proud. Robert, who believed in weathering storms but also in standing firm. Robert, who built this house board by board and meant it to be mine, to keep me safe, to give me a foundation that couldn't be shaken. The hostas have spread. They fill the bed now, just like he said they would. I sit by the window in the mornings and watch them grow, these living things he planted for me, and I think about legacy, about what we leave behind, about what matters. This house is mine. This life is mine. I am 67 years old, and I am not done yet. I am not something to be managed or maneuvered or moved aside. I am not waiting to die so my son can remodel my kitchen. I am here, living, choosing, free. And that, I think, is what Robert meant all along when he built this house, when he planted those hostas, when he said they'd spread and I wouldn't have to do much except let them grow. He meant, you're stronger than you know. You'll weather this. You'll grow. And I have. And I am. And I will. The morning light comes through the window. My tea is hot. The house is quiet and mine. And I am enough.